Our entire world is very busy. Everybody's trying to get somewhere. And we just sometimes forget that we are already there, right? It's like really the future doesn't exist. The future is going to be a future now. The past is already gone, so it also doesn't exist. And so we keep running and running, chasing the next big thing while we're neglecting our bodies, our health, our wellness, and then everything else kind of stems from there, including limiting beliefs.
Our guest today is a new age transformational leader pioneering sexual liberation and tantric lifestyle embodiment. She is a tantric bodywork artist, thought-provoking conversationalist, conscious content creator, educator, writer, mentor, and sensual ceremonialist. She's a truth seeker and a truth speaker, eager to shine light on personal and collective shadows. Welcome to the show, Aly Light.
Thank you so much, Mike. It is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for hosting me. To open up our time together, I would like to bring a little chime to tune all of us into this big space. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, everyone. Hey, thank you guys if you're with us watching on YouTube right now, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, your favorite podcast apps. Aly and I appreciate you being here. I was waiting for that chime. I didn't know when you were going to do it. I'm like, cliffhanger. Oh, there it is. That's cool. We are officially started, and I just want to let our audience know this is our first time that you and I are meeting, so there's this natural energy of excitement right now. And I've been following you on social media, and like I was telling you kind of off camera, there's so many amazing different avenues that we can take this conversation, and that's really exciting. Like I feel like we could probably talk for 4 hours and not run out of things to talk about. I want our audience to know that they can check you out on social media. I do have that all in the show notes, so they can go ahead and click on it. And also, you do have your own podcast called My Tantric Diary, which is exciting, and I did listen to it. You have this beautiful, soft-spoken voice that's perfect for that podcast. Here's where I'd like to start the conversation, then we'll kind of let it go from there. Just a reminder, our audience, it's a lot of budding entrepreneurs, people looking to unlock the next level in their life, personally, professionally. There's going to be a lot of people, myself included, who have struggled in the past or even currently with limiting beliefs, lifestyle habits. Maybe they're victim, right? They're playing like the victimhood mentality, self-sabotage. I've been there, done that as well. So those are kind of some of the things holding people back that may be tuning in and kind of looking to unlock it. How can you help our audience with that? Like getting a hold of their limiting beliefs and getting more control of their lives?
Yes, wonderful question. So as you were asking, leading into the question, the word that was coming to me is slowing down and getting back to the body. Okay, our entire world is very busy. Everybody's trying to get somewhere. And we just sometimes forget that we are already there, right? It's like really the future doesn't exist. The future is going to be a future now. The past is already gone, so it also doesn't exist. And so we keep running and running, chasing the next big thing while we're neglecting our bodies, our health, our wellness, and then everything else kind of stems from there, including limiting beliefs that are being held back by our actions and our patterns and the lifestyle choices that we have committed to for a really long time that have been somewhat destructive to our natural, innate well-being.
Yeah, that is so good. I really like that you, the way we started this interview, we did kind of take that pause. We collected ourselves, we kind of greeted the audience. It does feel like we kind of went into it collectively. And you're right. I mean, I can tell you for myself, just running around trying to do too many things. I know I always overbook my calendar and always have to push stuff to the next day. And every time I go to bed, I always feel like I'm coming up short because I over plan stuff, right? Instead of under planning and kind of having some extra time to just be with myself, right? And so that's something I definitely need to do and be better of and more mindful of. But what about those like that self-sabotage thing? Like if somebody's in that, and that can be a number of things. Maybe it can be different vices, like maybe they're doing drugs or they're just caught up on pornography or whatever it might be. Maybe they're just doing too much business and not enough family time, and they keep self-sabotaging their family time. And the family's like, we don't even know what dad looks like anymore. He's always at the office, that kind of thing. So somebody is in that mode, or it could be a number of other things too. You mentioned being present, but is there a way that they can help make better decisions so they can get out of the rut? How do we help them like push forward?
It's a deep question, and I don't think I can really answer that because everybody's on their own journey with their own unique lifestyle and priorities. I can speak from my perspective. For me, one of my values in life is to have freedom, to have spaciousness for my solo time, for my alone time, for my creativity. And so I choose intentionally what I focus my energy on. And I think part of becoming conscious and aware human being is also recognizing that there is certain level of energy that we have per day. And if you have so many things that you're allocating your energy towards, where are you really taking time to sit with yourself? Okay, because we can't allocate to our family at our highest and bestest self if we ourselves are depleted from the choices that we're making to hustle and grind and, get to the next thing, which is great. And I think for me, it's coming back to my health and my wellness and my relationships. For me, the quality of my relationships is everything to me. And if I'm living a lifestyle that's causing disruption in my primary relationships, romantic relationships, then that's something to look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can tell like you're someone who you know and understand yourself at a high level because you're so present with yourself on a daily basis. And when you speak, you're speaking in complete concert with yourself. And I think a lot of people, and again, I'll keep telling you, myself first, we're always kind of going and trying to deliver and not necessarily being fake. I don't want to say that because I don't feel that that's me either. But I feel like I'm kind of like trying to serve the moment and not serve myself. So it's so good. So can you talk about when did this all begin for you? I know you talk about, there's so many different topics that you can cover, but like sacred sexuality, emotional intelligence, holistic wellness, conscious relationships. Where did this journey all begin? Is this something that was like a seed that was planted in your heart from a young age? Like when did this kind of become your purpose on this planet?
Yeah. So I was raised Christian Orthodox, and the religion wasn't like a super big part. We went to church a few times a year, and so there was a lot of spaciousness for me to question my reality. And I remember at like 9 years old, I was asking already questions like, why are we all here? How is the earth here? Where is the sun? Like I was like, what is our purpose? Like all these questions were already permeating my field. And then fast forward to like 12 years later, I started having endeavors with yoga and meditations and psychedelics and festivals. And it feels like a lot of these answers are now have been coming to me. And so the journey for me began with the questioning. And I always say, if you have questions, the universe will answer. It's just a matter of bringing those questions up to surface. Mm-hmm. And then the other big part for me was when my grandmother got cancer. It was about 8 years ago. And that was a big awakening into my wellness and the journey of being in connection with my body, because I realized at that point that there's poison everywhere in our world, in our water, in our food, in our air. There's these things that are really preventing people from really living happy and fulfilling lives because their internal systems are not functioning at their ultimate capacity. And so then the spiritual journey took me into the yoga and the meditation path. So I went from health and wellness into yoga, meditation, breath work, and then really coming back to relationships. Mm-hmm. So now the journey has led me into sacred sexuality and relationships with myself, with God, and with my lovers and with my friendships and my community. So yeah, there was a lot covered there in like a few minutes, but it did start at an early time when I already was questioning, why am I here?
So you said your grandma was sick. That was 8 years ago?
Yeah, that was about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
She had a Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer.
Oh, man, I'm really sorry to hear that. That's horrible.
She did great, though. She survived. And can I just pin this for a moment? My grandmother is 83 years old. She's doing breath work, yoga. She's exercising. She's on a pull-up bar, and she's almost down to her splits.
That's amazing.
Okay, this is 83-year-old. Her name is Vera Kravtsova. And she is my rock star.
Shout out to Grandma. That's so cool.
Shout out to Grandma. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, like, I could tell she's got that warrior mentality, and there's so many people that go through it and it doesn't necessarily take their life because it's a mindset thing. But, the way I always look at it is like, we can control what's in our control. So like you said about like your diet, your exercise, taking care of those things, there's still no guarantee. Like something could have gone the other way too. And she could have been like, man, I did everything I can and it didn't work out. But it's amazing when we do hear these stories where somebody did get a hold of it and is doing really well. I actually was nominated a couple of years ago for Man of the Year for LLS. So Leukemia Lymphoma Society is really heavy on my heart. I have a cousin who was 2 at the time who was battling leukemia. So when the opportunity to get involved came my way, I jumped all in to help out. But yeah, I can tell that obviously this personal experience is what kind of got you thinking differently. And then you started to get, it sounds like you're a little bit like myself, where when you get into something, you dive all in. You're not like, you didn't put your foot in a little bit. You're like, I'm all into it. So one of the things, obviously, we talked about entrepreneurs tuning into the show. Sometimes they could be single. There's other entrepreneurs that are in relationships right now. And I've been kind of in both of those buckets. I'm currently single, and I also was married for 6 years. And I know that obviously marriage and relationships, it's a dance of two partners that need to be in concert with one another. And it's like two souls coming together to connect. And I feel like it is something that a lot of people do struggle with. When it's really good, how do we keep it there? And if it's disconnected, how do we mend it back together? So can we talk a little bit about the relationship side of things and how a couple can get back into that magic state of, let's call it bliss, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, this is a vast question, right? And we're just kind of going to go with it.
The floor is yours. You can dance however you want in that.
At the end of the day, we need to remember a couple of things, okay? We need to remember that it's about love and it's not about us.
Mm-hmm.
When you enter into a relationship, you commit to a space of mild sacrifice of your own selfishness to be of love, service, and devotion to this other being. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's many different relationships, and so every couple has to find what works for them. In my reality, it's really important for me to feel accepted for who I am, to feel understood, to feel seen, and to feel desired. And all of that really takes place through really good communication.
Mm-hmm.
And next to love is communication. We need to be really learning how to speak our truth, how to speak our desires, wants, and needs from a place of grace rather than a place of fear or lust or pushing, and to allow our partners to surprise us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And for me, I've been in 3 long-term relationships in the past. I've been married. I had relationships since then. And now I'm evolving into really looking at relationships from a very different perspective. Because if you think about it, unless you had a really healthy mom and dad loving figure at home, most people don't really know what it's like to love another.
Mm-hmm.
And our love is really deeply rooted in our states of fear. So we tend to attach and codepend on partners to fill our needs. Yeah. And part of spiritual awakening and becoming a sovereign individual is to know who you are, know what your needs are, and to be willing and able to ask for them, and not to expect your partner to read your mind and assume and, follow the structures of other relations. And so in my reality, it's about really co-creating a life between you and your chosen beloved.
Yeah.
And the important part here is to be conscious of who you're choosing and why, making sure that it's coming from a place of authentic love and really seeing that person growing with you and building the life and the vision that both of you have.
That is a mic drop moment. I'm just going to pause this for a second. That's what I call it when there's a really, really good information delivered on the show that's like, hold on, let's make sure we don't just run past that, because that was so good. But what you just said right there, I think is so important. When two people communicate on a level of we don't always know what the other person's thinking, feeling, lusting, whatever, and if you don't communicate it clearly, it could be missed, and then you can be upset, but there's no reason to be upset because it's just a communication, a little bit of a breakdown. which can be taken care of if you're proactive about communication. So I think that's so well said. That can go for businesses, teams, relationships outside of, just talking about spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever that looks like. Yeah, that is super good. And like, it might sound elementary, but I think it is something that gets overlooked all the time, is really being, I use this word like 3 times already. I'm going to use it again, being in concert with one another. And guys, if you're listening right now and you're not watching, like if you're watching on YouTube, I'm laughing like Aly right now, and Aly Light of all people, who's vibrant with light, has light coming through, because as we're recording this, she's in Florida and the sun is setting, coming right through the blinds. So she's being covered in light right now, which I think is just so, yeah. It's perfect for our conversation, and it's perfect for the topics we're covering right here. Aly Light is resonating as we speak. So anything else you'd like to add to that, talking about communication's kind of step 1, and then how do you keep it really strong?
So important to understand yourself as a human being. For me, what I found from my experiences earlier, before I was not as conscious of my own like wounded feminine dynamics, is that some people tend to project their own insecurities onto their partners. The way they ask for things, how they navigate conflict can really show you, what they're dealing with internally. An emotionally mature and adequate individual knows how to handle emotions properly and how to process them on their own. And so I think it's important for people to recognize when you are feeling uncomfortable emotions in your relationship, and to not set it off aside and just kind of bury it under the rug, because that's when you start to build resentment and disconnect. And when there is resentment in relationship for a really long time, sexual energy and desire starts to dwindle. Okay. And so we need to be conscious to keep harmonious, balanced chi in our relationship. Like, everybody can look at their relationship and you can see if your relationship is in feng shui. Like there's
Right.
this balance and peace and harmonies, and there's no filthy corners, and you vacuum behind the couch. Like, your relationship is your own co-creation. So if you're not happy, if your needs are not being met, if you're putting up with crap that doesn't make you feel good, you willingly are still there. And so for you to really reflect on, why are you still there?
Mm-hmm.
And for those who are in happy relationships, spending more quality time together, spending more intentional, sensual, connective time, not just sitting next to each other watching TV, because that's not connecting, but rather making space to check in. How is our relationship? Where are we going if you're an unsure couple? Like, how has your week been? And has there been any issues that came up that we didn't discuss? So, checking in with each other for couples who have been together and are doing well.
It's so good. Like, you just used that analogy of like vacuuming behind the rug. Like, everything is out in the open. Like, if there's anything that's hidden, there's that potential for it to be, a stone down the road that's going to get in the way or something. Like, it could be small, it could be a pebble, or it could be a huge rock. But like, I remember this just going back from dating, like even when I was like a teenager, it was just the thing that I noticed would always start the conflict was not realizing that we were doing something. So there was like the communication of like, if somebody did something we didn't like, I just had to say it, but then how do you say it nicely? And then the other thing is like, just like opening our hearts and saying like, this is me, you're getting all of me, and not, I know that's happens over time. It wouldn't be normal to do that on the first date with somebody and give them everything. But like when you're in a healthy long-term relationship, they should know everything about you, your quirks, good, bad, and ugly, right? Should be out in the open, and then there's really nothing to hide from. And I think that's, like, I'm not trying to educate you, like you're the expert on this, but I think that's when you have a foundation you can build on, right? It's not something that's got rocky foundation. It's nice and smooth because it's all out there, good, bad, and ugly. There's nothing to hide from. And I think people respect you more, too, if you just come out and say some of the things that maybe have been rough in your past,
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, communication and being honest and authentic is probably some of the biggest tools that we need to gather before we get ready to settle into relationships. Nobody really teaches us how to love, how to really thrive in relating dynamics. And so we kind of have to figure it out as we go along. And some people jump into marriages and having children with partners that are not compatible, because oopsie, we got pregnant, or, there's pressure. And, I feel collectively right now, our relationships are going through a transformation, especially since COVID. And a lot of people really got to see, like, do I like spending time with this person 24/7? Or because we have really busy jobs, that kind of keeps our relationship afloat, And so I personally have been in my own dynamic exploration, moving from monogamy to open to polysensual dynamics. And I'm feeling there is a rise of a desire for deeper love, a really, really meaningful love that's not just about you and I, but it's about us being of service as a unit to something greater, something beyond ourselves. And this is where, like, I bring God into my relationships, into my bedroom, because I'm realizing that, like, one is great, right? I can rock the world, independent woman doing all the things, but then having a partner, an equal partner to, like, have the vision that's higher than him and I combined, and putting our powers together, and then allowing for the God's energies to work through us to actually bring something meaningful to the world. That way, a relationship has a purpose. Okay, it's not just let's get married, have kids, live a life. That's great. But when things get tough, people get divorced, you start splitting custody, and it's not fun.
Right.
But when your relationship has a purpose and a vision that's beyond both of you, that can help you overcome challenging moments in your future. And honesty saying there will be challenges. Okay, relationships is a playground and a teaching school more than anyone can probably admit to.
Yeah. So good. Another mic drop moment, Aly. You are just crushing this. And like, I know it's just talking about this comes naturally for you because you're comfortable and confident in it and you've been studying it for years now. I do agree. I think that is really well said. And I think I know in my personal relationships that I can say that is absolutely true, both when it's going well or when it's not going well. What you just said is really that reason, kind of like you said, of serving the relationship as the greater good. And both people have to be willing to go all in on it for it to work.
So why I'm so passionate about relationship in this point in my life is because we really have to understand that everything starts really in our families, in our households. Okay, I'm looking at life from a micro to a macro perspective. Okay, and if we really zoom out on our, like, collective field right now, there's a lot of distortion and chaos and fear and, all these things. But let's zoom into the family unit, right? What is the relationship between mom and dad? How are they raising their child? What's the emotional stance in the household so that these children are growing up? And so if we can do our inner work in ourselves and then find mates who meet our level of inner work and passion for life, I think when we cultivate healthy relationships within ourselves, within our relationships, within our families, then you expand that into your community, and then you expand into your states and beyond. And so that way we can begin to heal the planet with healthy relationships and healthy families and healthy children. But it has to start with us doing the work.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, it's not going to happen for you, or reading a book or getting help is great, but you have to do the work. That's everything in life. Here's what I like to do. We're going to take a quick 2-minute timeout. I'm going to see if maybe we can set you up. So right now it looks like you're being, like, electrocuted or something. Got light coming all through the window on you there. Let's see if maybe we can get the setup going for you. We're going to take a quick 2-minute timeout. We'll be right back with Aly Light. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you, and that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight, and Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. Hey guys, it's Mike. I'd like to give a proper shout out to Navigator Bookkeeping. Look, for a long time, I ran my business without really understanding the full financial picture. I used my gut and my bank account balance to make decisions, which led to some poor choices and constant stress over my business's finances. I knew something needed to change. At the beginning of 2021, I made a decision that helped pave a more clear path for my business. I started working with Navigator Bookkeeping. Since then, my bookkeeping has been handled for me. I now understand the full financial story of my business, making important financial decisions much easier now, and it helps me plan for where my business is going. I highly recommend giving Navigator Bookkeeping an opportunity to help your business. Check them out at navigatingyourbooks.com. Again, that's navigatingyourbooks.com. It's time to know the full financial story of your business. All right, we're back in action with Aly Light, and you can connect with her on social media. I have all of that in the show notes for you, her website, her podcast, her multiple social media links, and she's got so much more that you can tune into. If you're with us here watching, again, on YouTube, you notice that Aly is in a different location. We had a little bit of a lighting situation, but I love the fact that we took the break, and she's now in this really cool, looks like you almost have like butterfly wings. Again, audio-only listeners are kind of missing out on it. She's, what is that? You got like lights behind you. Is that actually?
It's a tapestry of a beautiful tree, and I do have lights illuminating it from the side. So this is my tree of life.
Yeah. This is awesome. You were holding out on me before, doing the whole interview in front of the window shade or whatever. There's so much more I want to unpack in what we were talking about. You delivered a lot of great points so far, talking about relationships and the different elements and things that go into a healthy relationship. But something that caught my eye in your bio on Instagram is that you mentioned inspiring men into their greatness. And what I talk about on Mic'd Up all the time is be great and be grateful. So it's looking to achieve and unlock greatness. Can you share some of the ways that men in particular can do that? And then kind of the follow-up to that is, why only men? Do you also help women in the same way?
Yes, thank you for asking. So I do work with women and couples. However, the root of my work and the entire Sacred Muse Tantra page was created because a long time ago, I got sick and tired of having bad sex. Okay, I was tired of men not really knowing what they were doing. I was tired feeling rushed. I was tired of not getting my pleasure met. And so my page was really rooted in the frustration that I was feeling. And because I am a feminine and I am tuned into the collective feminine field, I felt that the calls of other women have also been heard. And so I started my page to educate men on sexuality, intimacy, tantra, and sacred way to connect with your partner and with yourself. And so for me, the root of leading men into their greatness really starts with their relationships with their cocks, cocks and with their hearts. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Because a lot of men don't realize, but your genitals are kind of like the center of the masculine psyche and like your prostate. And there's a lot of emotions that are in your hips if we're going to look at the energetics and the emotional side of life. And so, yeah, I just found that a lot of men were using their genitals to bring pleasure or to receive pleasure. And when I opened up into the path of sacred sexuality, I realized that sexuality can actually be very healing for a relationship. And so sex is not just about pleasure, but it can also be for healing. It can be for regeneration. It can be for transforming blocked emotions. And so, it kind of came all in this one big bowl, and there's so many different branches of the tree. And sacred sexuality and educating men on feminine pleasure and how to love a woman is something that I became really passionate about over the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's interesting when like somebody is in a situation where it's not always a good thing that inspires change or inspires somebody to pick a particular lane or get into your purpose. In this case, it was all these negative experiences with men. You're like, man, I got to help these guys. Don't know what they're doing, or if they know what they're doing, they're choosing to be stupid about it. But I think it's beautiful that you were like, look, I need to help fix this, because there's other women that are obviously hurting too, or having bad experiences as well. And as a guy, I definitely do agree with you. And I can say that I think one of the reasons that there's a huge problem around the intimacy situation, like during sex, is that I think a lot of guys from now, like 13 years old, if not, sadly enough, younger than that, scary situation is they're getting their eyes on content teaching them the wrong way to have sex. And I think they're replicating what they see. I don't want to speak super generally about that, but I believe that that's a big problem in it. Is that something that you're experiencing as well? Is that they're learning it the wrong way?
Yeah, so what you just spoken to is literally like the roots, and the big shadow thing that nobody really talks about is, let's remember that we are creatures of habit and programming, and everything that our mind takes up as we grow up and our brains mature is going to be leading us into how we are as adults. And so again, going back to your relationship with your mom and dad, has there been healthy expression of love? Have there been healthy expression of their sexuality and intimacy? And then, as you mentioned, around teenage 13, 12 years old, boys begin to have a lot of feelings and a lot of urges, and a lot of them don't really have a conscious father-son conversation. And so these men, these boys, young boys, are kind of on for themselves to really figure out, first of all, why am I getting all these hard-ons? Why am I sort of turned on in school and random places, right? And so there's a lot of shame and guilt around the topic of sexuality in general. And it doesn't just start at the age of 12, 13 with pornography. Like that's like a whole thing of its own. But what about when you're a toddler? What about when you're 2, 3 years old and you begin to explore your genitals and maybe play around, maybe you touch your friends, and then parents come around and they say, no, we don't do that. Don't touch her. Or if they catch you doing something, they shame you for it, they spank you for it. And so from early on development, you begin to form these subconscious understandings like, oh, this is bad. I shouldn't touch myself. Like, if it feels good, I'm punished for it. And so I just want you guys to see how deep the psychological root of sexual shame and guilt lies. And then you bring on pornography at the age of whatever. And basically what's that teaching boys is easy gratification. You can go to a screen. It's right there. It's easy. It doesn't actually teach you how to have a connection, right? It doesn't teach you actually how to make love, how to court a woman, how to really sway her with your masculine essence. And so pornography is a very big, massive field. And I just made a video about it not too long ago, talking how it's a silent killer of our relationships.
Yeah, I think I saw that video, which is one of the reasons that I was like, I really wanted to have this conversation on the show, because I know I've struggled with this in the past, and I know I'm not alone. And I think there's a lot of people who are having a hard time coming out and talking about it. And it's like, I just wanted to push this out and get it out into the world.
Yeah. And I'm so happy that we're here, because I think part of being a leader in this sexual revolution for me is to give voice to the things that are in the shadow, and to give voice to the callings of the women and to the desires of men, because I have my throat chakra open and I'm not in shame or guilt to talk about all these things, because we need awareness and we need education. And so the silent killer of relationships, I have personally experienced this with my partner a couple of years ago, where I would wake up in the middle of the night and he wasn't in bed. And then I would hear him doing things in the bathroom, and I would hear these moans and sounds from the phone. And it made me hurt so much, because I'm a sexual woman. I love connection. I want to be with my lover. So the fact that he was taking time to be in the bathroom with a phone doing the thing when I'm in bed by myself, it hurt me so much. And so I've brought that up to him, and I've helped him understand the psychological damage that it's doing to his perception, because now, when we're in the bedroom, he thinks it's just like boom, 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 let's go. Because based on what the movies show, it's not really focused on feminine pleasure. There isn't really like activation of feminine heart and helping her feel safe. It's very dark. It's very intense. It's very rough. And that's not how women enjoy sexuality. Can't speak for all women, but for me personally, I am a lot more tender in my body. My body needs at least 30 minutes of foreplay, of warming up. And like, if her juices are not flowing, like there is no room for you to be going inside of your woman. And a lot of men miss out on the aspects of awakening feminine pleasure because our modern stream pornography doesn't really focus on that. And I do have to say that nowadays there are a lot more female produced erotica, which I will support and I will appreciate, because I do believe that sexuality is a form of our artistic expression. And when it's done tastefully and classy and with consent and with boundaries, it can be a really beautiful film to enjoy.
Right. I think that the key word is consent. I mean, I don't support it at all, knowing that there's obviously trafficking involved sometimes, and, sex trafficking. And, I've heard stories, I forget what podcast it was I was listening to, but there was a girl who thought she was going to like a photography shoot and basically got kidnapped. And you hear this happen like often in this industry, but they basically pitch that it's like this legitimate big company corporate photography shoot that you're going to go to, and then they take your phone, your purse at the front door, and then basically you get thrown in a room and pretty much raped. And then they film it, and then it goes on like Pornhub, and then you try to get it off of there, and they don't care and they don't take it off. So now somebody's like persona is out there, and their name is out there, whatever. And there's a lot of people, it's usually women, that are like trying to get their lives back in order, but there's nobody helping them out. And when I heard that, it's just like breaks my heart that like I can't support that. But like you said, when it's done with consent, someone agrees and they want to do this, and they're in there excited, like going into it with the right mindset, I think it can be beautiful. It's almost like a performance art at that point, right? And I think as long as everybody's happy, I think that's cool. Like I'm a creative person, and if that's what somebody is enjoying, I agree. I think that is fine at that point. But if it's still somehow inhibiting, if that's the right word, people's relationships, I think then there's still a problem. Or you just have to know what you can and can't have. For instance, some people are okay with cracking a beer and maybe watching the game and just relaxing. And some people, if they did that, 2 days later, they'd be on a bender because it introduced them. So I think if somebody watches the more female-friendly or creative and artistic version of it, that's fine, and they're not going to like go crazy. But it might still be the gateway into somebody ending up watching the wrong stuff too. Just a thought.
Yeah.
I think this is a great conversation because, yeah, I have in the past struggled with pornography, not that distant past, where it's like, you know, I'm a single person, so you think what's going to maybe end up being 10 minutes could sometimes be longer than that, and you never feel good after. At least I don't. I'll speak for myself. Like, you always feel horrible. You feel stupid. You know, whatever. And it's like, why do I go back there? You know what I mean? And it's just a matter of finding the right thing that you can replace it with. So then you can when I'm ready to be in a relationship and I choose to be in a relationship again, I can be healthy and I can be the best version of me, right?
Absolutely. So. Yeah, I love your awareness on the topic, and thank you for being vulnerable and speaking about your ways with the pornography. It is a form of addiction. It is very mental. It's very psychological. It's very environmental. And for anybody who is struggling, just know that you're not alone. There is a lot of men who are too. This is why we are having these conversations and really bringing this to light. And I want to share some tools for somebody who's really struggling and perhaps, is looking to really work on themselves. My number one tool would be asking yourself, are you living in your passion and your purpose? Mm-hmm. Because if you are in your passion and your purpose, you probably have things that you should be doing, right? And so we kind of start the journey within. Number one, awareness. The second you kind of feel a little bored, maybe a little anxious, maybe a little worried, maybe whatever trigger it is for you that triggers you to want to go to that, you need to become aware of that, number one. Yeah. And then so once you become aware, create a practice for you to take a step. Give yourself like 5 to 15 minutes and do something else. Give yourself a glass of water, do like 5 minutes of breath work, do some push-ups. Like you need to bring an activity that you will commit to taking the moment you feel like you need to go masturbate to help you like shift your mind to something else. And if in like 10, 15 minutes you still want to do it, then give it to yourself because that's going to be your process. Okay. And with time, you will become aware enough to really kind of see yourself and perhaps make some reevaluations. And another tool I want to share, this one's kind of interesting. Whenever you are in the process, I invite you to zoom out and pretend like your angels, your guides, your teachers, and the realms are watching you. And just, how do you look? Because we're not shaming self-pleasure here. What we're discussing is, running towards pornography when it's not the right time, not the right place, doing it too much, knowing that it's affecting your relationship, okay? Because my work is all about conscious pleasure and love. So we're not going to deny you your pleasure. It's just becoming aware of these habits that you yourself as a conscious individual know are not serving your highest path.
Well, the word we talked about earlier in the episode was sabotage. It's like self-sabotage, at least again for myself. Like if I know like productivity or whatever, just sleep. Anything I personally feel is a better replacement for that. Because it's not serving, it's not me, it's not on purpose. It's not going to make me feel better. It's not going to fuel me up. Whatever is stemming from it, or whatever is kind of the cause, like you're talking about, it could be something that's either hurting or whatever, and you kind of end up going to it. It could just be you're tired, you're bored. There's like different triggers. But just knowing like you said, you got to be aware first before you can make the change. If you're not aware of the different things, then it's really hard to like put a game plan in place. But I definitely know, like you said, once you get more clear on your purpose, it definitely helps you have a fighting chance against it. And there is a book, Think and Grow Rich, one of the most popular business books of all time. Napoleon Hill talks about, I forget exactly the term for it, but there is like a sexual energy that a lot of like entrepreneurs and people who are like high achievers have, and it's like a natural thing. And it's just, I've had other people like mentors and stuff talk to me about this, and they're like, put that energy back into your purpose again. If you can rewire it. Because if someone like myself has like a higher vibration in that field, in that space, don't give that the attention. Talking about pornography, don't give that your energy. Redirect it in the right way.
Absolutely. Yeah, your awareness and what you pay attention to is your most valued currency. So what are you really spending your time on? And everybody has different ways that they're self-soothe. So, we have to find healthy alternatives if we know the other ones are not working for us.
What's the best way? Someone's hearing this right now. They're like, oh my God, I needed to hear that. I want more. I want more from Aly. Like, how do they get more from you? Is it obviously social media, but is this what your podcast? And I know you have a couple different shows and you've been on a ton of podcasts, but like, where's the best place I can send somebody so they can pick this conversation up and get more details on it?
Yeah, that would be on my Instagram at Sacred Muse Tantra. It's my platform for education on sacred sexuality, tantra, relationships. I'm bringing in a lot of esoterics into my work because that's kind of the root of tantric love. So if you're there, kind of give it space, like feel into what's available because a lot of it might be super new and unknown for you. But if you're there, enjoy exploring the portal.
Yeah, absolutely. I've gotten a lot of benefits from the different topics and conversations and kind of like conversation starters that you have on there. And that's why I wanted right to the source, right to you. and hear it from you directly, which is really cool to be able to do this. And I appreciate you being here with our audience today. You gave so much value. I'd like to have you on again at some point because I feel like we can really pick the conversation up and go even deeper into it. There are people like myself who know very little about Tantra. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Tantra, right?
Tantra.
So, I know what it is. I've edited podcasts, the Please Me channel and their podcast as well. I produced many episodes of that show, so I've learned about it. I produced your episode actually with Heather Montgomery, and so that's where this all that's when I learned about you and what you were doing, and so I'm aware of it and I know what it is. But can you share it with our audience if they're kind of like they want the 101 on it? What's the scoop? And then obviously you can leave a little cliffhanger and they can come to you for more information.
Yeah. So depending who you're talking to, they will have their own information on what is Tantra for them. For me, Tantra is about living an embodied life, meaning that you are present in your body, you are aware of your emotions, you are connected to nature because nature is just a reflection of your body. And you, in a way, practice the yogic path. There's practices of Tantra include meditation, rituals, breath work, sacred sexuality, doing emotional healing work, and then ultimately connecting in a tantric way with your friends, your lovers, and your community. And so there is a level of awakening that takes place that brings a lot of softness and grace and sensual essence into our relations. And this is where I've been opening up into more open dynamics and polysensuality, because I'm realizing that sensual energy is who I am. And I can't suppress it just because I'm with a partner. And I want to be able to share that, number one, through my work. I offer really beautiful healing tantric massage rituals and sharing the educational content about helping people be more in their body. Because from the beginning of our podcast, you mentioned that everybody's so busy chasing the goals, chasing the next big thing that we forget to slow down, to return into the home of our body, to really feel, how is the heart feeling? Am I tender today? Am I vulnerable? Am I powerful? Feeling into and honoring your body and then bringing that into your relationships and your sexuality.
Yeah, I love it. Bookends. We started the conversation talking about slowing down, breath work, getting real with ourselves, and we kind of brought it back into that realm as well. That to me, it's like, sign me up. That sounds so good. So I definitely am going to be getting more information on that as well. And I think so many people who listen to this, and thanks to those that are here at the end of the conversation as well and stuck all the way through, I feel like that's where the value in this can be, because I think just being confident and comfortable with yourself first is what will allow you to be a better partner. Like if you're not coming, to somebody else and you're really got all these, like, not saying you need to go to someone and be perfect. We're always broken. We all got different things and different battle scars, and but it's acknowledging it and coming to someone, being your best version of yourself. Wow. That's really what I'm working on right now, is being the best version of myself. So I could be ready when I am in that next stage again to get back into a relationship when I feel like I'm ready, and that's my desire and want. But I want to make sure when I go into that I'm the best version of Mike.
And I love that. Thank you for taking that time to do that, because I honor you as a man for taking that space, because so many men don't. And they look for women to give them guidance and to give them help, and, they're losing their way. And so I admire men that take time to do their inner work, to heal, especially after a breakup. Take time after a breakup. Don't jump into a relationship right away. You'll attract another karmic partner. Take time to learn the lessons, recognize the shadows, like what was the point of that relationship, and then integrate that, and then go on vacation and love yourself. And then when you feel like you have enough love within and you can pour from an overflowing cup of your own inner heart, then you can be ready to go into a relationship.
So good. Another mic drop moment right there. Aly's crushing it. This is so much fun. I'm definitely going to have you on again. I did say we were going to do rapid fire. I know we're a couple minutes over. Let's roll through this. I think it's really cool to kind of help us get a better understanding of who you are. So I'm going to ask questions and just roll right through it. So what is your favorite meditation?
Washing dishes.
Cool. Didn't see that coming. What's the best compliment that you can receive?
I like your energy.
Yeah. How about favorite pastime? Maybe something we didn't talk about yet.
My Hawaii trip and my yoga teacher training that changed my life.
That's awesome. Right. That's what we can talk about next time. We'll pick it right up from there. What's a daily non-negotiable for you? Obviously, like sleep, showering, eating, but something in addition to those.
My bedtime routine.
Bedtime routine. What about a favorite location? I think you just answered this. Was a Hawaii favorite location you've ever visited?
Hawaii and Costa Rica and Thailand. Anywhere tropical. You'll find me in the tropics.
I think you maybe answered the next question then. Would you rather be skiing or snorkeling? Thank you.
Sunbathing under a palm tree.
Amen. Amen. Same here. I'm a beach bum. Greatest fear?
I don't really have fears. Maybe losing my mom, like my mom passing away. Yeah, but I'm sitting with that. I'm like mentally preparing that death is part of life.
Mm-hmm. Are you guys besties, you and your mom?
We are good friends. Yeah, we have a really mature relationship.
Yeah, that's really, really good. That's super important.
It took work. It took a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. I respect that for sure. What about this? Favorite movie?
I like Avatar.
Okay.
So beautiful.
Did you see the new one?
I sure did. Yeah. The graphics and the story, it's very beautiful.
Yeah. I haven't seen the new one yet, but I'll definitely check it out. I like this question because it kind of gets you, I want to know the why behind it. If you could be any animal, what would it be and why?
I would be a cat. If I was in the wild, because I can climb the trees and I can hunt and I have night vision. And if I was an in-house cat, I would probably give lots of pets and give lots of love and have like a really cool relationship with my owner. Because they have spirits and animals.
I love cats. Yeah, I know some people don't like cats. I don't get it, but I had a cat that was 15 or 16 when she passed away. She ended up staying with my ex-wife after the divorce, which was really sad because I really looked forward to after a long day of work, she'd just be my little chill partner. She'd be hanging out. She always came to see me when I got home from work and stuff. And her name was Rosie. She was a very sweet cat.
Aww.
So yeah, definitely love that. What's your greatest natural skill?
Communication and expression of my feelings.
Yes, I definitely think you get an A+ in those both departments. If you could time travel to any place in time, where would you go and why?
I'm kind of content in the now. I feel good. Yeah, it feels good here.
I like that answer. That's the first time I've done this for a while now, and you're the first person to say that. Just appreciate being here right now, right here in the moment. Hell yeah, I like that a lot. All right, last one. So that's it for rapid fire. This is kind of put a bow on it. Let people know, obviously we know who you are now, a little bit more of your story, and this is kind of like where you're looking to go with all of it. So imagine you're the author and protagonist in your own life story, and you get to write the ending, and God willing, you continue to live a long, prosperous life. You're looking back on it, you're reflecting, and you get to define your legacy. What would that be?
That's a big one.
I know. That's why I save it for the end.
Save that into existence. I don't really thought that far. Again, so deep in the moment here and now.
That's a good answer, though. The fact is you're creating it. That's fine.
I'm creating
progress.
it. I think the desire there is to live a life that was fulfilling, that was happy, and that had beautiful relationships.
Yes.
Fulfillment can be, so many different things to different people, but that feeling, and you know what the feeling is of fulfillment. Yeah.
Very well said. I think this conversation was one of my favorite ones we had. I was definitely nervous coming in. It was some topics I haven't really covered on the show or really talked to anybody about. I mean, I have a couple friends that we talk about stuff, similar topics, but usually don't go that deep into it. And so to have an expert come on, I kind of felt like I had to know what the hell I was talking about. But you made me really comfortable. I just want to say you're a great communicator, which you self-acknowledge, which is really good. And what's interesting about this conversation, it started in this bright light shining through the window, and now we're ending kind of in darkness. It's kind of like the beginning of the day, the end of the day, bookends, if you will. And this is a lot of fun. So I really appreciate your heart. I appreciate your energy, your time being on the show. I would love you to share this with your audience. I feel they can get a lot of positive energy from you because maybe they're seeing you in a different light today, no pun intended, than you normally would bring maybe on your own show. Like sometimes we go on another show and we kind of end up showing up a little bit differently. So yeah, I'd love to have some of your audience tune in. And anybody who's hearing me for the first time, thank you for being with us. I always like to end every show with these two thoughts right here. Be great and be grateful. And you guys know what to do. Do those two things. Any last words you'd like to say before heading out?
Be great and be grateful. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
I love that. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I'm definitely down to come back and go deeper into all these juicy topics that we need to be talking about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/micedup. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/micedup. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCioccio, MIKEDICIOCCIO. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.